and welcome to Prestige Encounters Q&A number 1. So we are here with 5 of our wonderful cast members of Prestige Encounters, and this is the first time we're doing this. So the way it's going to work is this is just a very open conversation about the campaign. We get to ask each other questions about characters, the lore that we have been building, that sort of thing, and it's just really more about a conversation. Of course, viewers are going to be able to come in and join us for this as well, for this little bonus content, behind the scenes look. And let's kind of get a little bit of, ambient music to go with it.
Great ambient music.
Fantastic ambient music. So, we have been playing Prestige Encounters campaigns for 6 years now. Everybody, like since 2020, it has been 6 years of playing Dungeons and Dragons together as of this past March. Some of you have been in here more towards the beginning. Some of you joined during campaign 2. Some of you just joined us for campaign 3, and it's been all right. Of course, campaign 1 it has nothing to do with the lore of campaign 2 and 3. We kind of did a whole world reset once we kind of like found our roots and what we wanted to do as.
You keep hearing about this character Elith, though, for some reason in the sessions, so I think she might be important.
Yeah, I accidentally called her Elith the last session we did. That's 100% true. In fact, I was going through some of the old videos on my old Twitch channel before I committed fully to the Lich Souls gaming one. And I actually found the origin one-shot for Elith. Like we did an origin backstory one-shot.
That's crazy.
Where she was hired to be a rebel to go and try to assassinate Veldritch Grimbor, the original vampire enemy of Prestige Encounters, and she got thrown off a cliff after being flown into the air by being grabbed by her throat and being flown up above the castle and thrown off a cliff, where she washed up on the shores of the old city. But that's campaign 1. Let's talk about campaign 3, everybody. So I guess I would like to ask, I'll start everything off here. I would like to ask Yi. You've played 2 characters so far in this campaign. You've played Valerie, now you're playing as Sinasha. And I'm kind of interested in Valerie because I feel like her story was not very complete when we lost her to the nature spirit, and her soul was absorbed by the monolith. Tell me what your motivation was behind Valerie and creating her as a character, because obviously we did a lot of thinking leading up to campaign 3 about what the characters would be. So tell me a little bit more about that.
I mean, from a play perspective, my main goal was just to have fun. To be clear, I think Valerie is the character I went in with the most with an idea of what I wanted her to be, or them to be, insofar as the double life. So, came into it with the accent, loved the idea of playing a bard, and just wanted her to be kind of the instigator of a great deal of chaos, which I think she pulled off pretty effectively from there. But because I'm kind of an old-fashioned role player, I don't like to ever have any one character just be about like the face of them. So I always wanted to have some dark backstory. So having the idea that she's actually an agent of this secret cabal who we've only met one member of, and kind of going through the country, through the different nations in this continent and sowing chaos for reasons she doesn't understand, because that's what she's been told to do. Right?
Right.
And very much like, how much do you want me to reveal here? Because we are actually in her hometown, so that we're in her home base technically. I
mean, there's still things that we can explore as far as her origin story without her. So if something's meant to be a reveal, let's keep it on. Let's not Tom Holland this.
Well, no, but
per se.
For sure, I definitely revealed, especially in scenes that people saw, but mostly to Emmeline, that she really did feel like a bad person who wanted to be a good person. And having that like struggle between what people saw and what she felt, and I really like the idea, which you allowed me to do, of lying to pretty much the entire party about even the species that she was up until their death, never showing their true face, which now I wouldn't have to because we changed how changelings work, but in the new books that came out. But yeah, seeing that they were changeling the whole time and pretending to be a half elf and saying, "Oh no, just using disguise self," right? And even when we were in the whisper scene in Rebellion, which nobody saw, I was still playing to the audience that it was disguised self and not shape changing, which was a lot of fun. So the long con, which is what Valerie was always. Valerie was the long con and could go to be the good guy, which I think she tried to do in the end, but really wasn't in her core. The person that was underneath that face everyone saw could have ended the world if that was the path they were going to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And so but Valerie was the main face that they took on. And that actually brings me over to Emmeline, who had a romantic relationship as a character with Valerie. So Chloe, do you think that that Emmeline was in a more romantic relationship with Valerie as an identity, or do you think that if Valerie were to live past this reveal and continue, do you think it would evolve to more past Valerie as a character? Because it's just a face at the end of the day. Valerie's a face.
And yes, but an alluring one, right? And so it definitely draws her in, and it definitely, of course, attracts her. But I think really diving into what's beneath that and getting into those layers of who am I? Can I be a good person? Can I change and create my fate? Those were questions that she was eager to answer with Valerie. So I feel like she was much more attracted to who Valerie truly was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what Valerie liked about Emmeline, is Emmeline was genuine. Right? There was not as many, she represented who she was.
Yeah, and I feel like Valerie hiding and lying about who she was really wasn't even. Of course, it was a huge deal to her, and it is a big deal. But the level of betrayal, I feel like is relatively low. I feel like there could have been worse things that she lied about. For now.
It did lead to some really great roleplay moments between the two of his characters. And speaking of great roleplay moments, I would like to turn the focus a little bit more on Emmeline when we visited her home, specifically when you were at dinner with your family and you were confronting your mother about the family wand being given to your sister, who was in fact not practicing the family magic at all. And you brought you reanimated your dad's corpse and brought him in a fit of rage.
Head of the house, yep.
So that was a really powerful moment as a player, and we don't always see a lot of those. And I want to tell you, I wanted you to talk a little bit more about obviously I was role playing as your mother, as an NPC, as the DM, and how exactly did you see that overall, that relationship between Emmeline's mother and herself?
It was really easy to riff with you and kind of dig out what this relationship between them was, and to really kind of strike gold per se, right? Because there is a level of endearment, at least on Emmeline's side. She knows that her mom has these expectations for her, very high ones, that she wants to achieve. Because if you look at it, really, the things that she was studying at that time, that necromancy, it wasn't necessarily the hottest thing around. People weren't really loving it, right? And so if people found out she was doing that, they would look down on her, cast judgment, report her, lots of things. But her mother she was pretty lenient on her doing what she needed to do to learn and get stronger and more knowledgeable. So she felt almost that her mother, of course she loves me. She allows me to do what I want to do. And she sent me off to school and she did all these great things for me. And it wasn't until that conflict with the wand where this Truman Show style bubble almost popped for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was role playing as your mother, I really tried to take on this character of like the naggy mother, the mother who's like, you're never quite where you need to be, you're never quite good enough, in a way, like, oh, sit up straight, dear. Oh, you have a wrinkle in your coat, like why can't we fix that before company, that sort of thing. And that seemed to have resonated with you in a very impactful way, to just like how I have a parental figure just constantly do this a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
So. Then you erased your sister's memory.
Gave her the memory of her sister for some knowledge. Yeah.
And I'm wondering when that's going to come back and reemerge in the plot line.
Well, your mother,
always nervous.
Your sister is off exploring and gaining knowledge about architecture and like civil design and engineering. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of really good design and engineering within the continent that you are now. These cities are very well adapted to the catastrophe that was the Tears of Tumes. So I'm curious to know as well, like, she might come up to you, she might recognize you, but you don't have any memories of your sister. She might. We don't know. So
right, we're gonna have to see.
We'll have to see. And memories are a fickle thing when it comes to things, and like we actually have a character who has had severe memory loss in their backstory. That's in fact Naoki, who is a Fey Wanderer. He is part of the Druid tribe led by Zulkifli's son. Speaking of Zulkifli, Noah just sent me a message saying that he wishes us love as he's about to take his flight from Singapore and heading back home. So Zulkifli's son, the child that was born at the finale of campaign 2, ends up being the Archdruid in charge of the Grove, of which Naoki has traveled from before he joined the party. And there's the Fey elements, there's the Druid elements. Isaac, this is your first ever D&D campaign, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when you first made Naoki and you're conceptualizing, I'm like, what did you see in your mind? Where did you draw inspiration from?
I mean, it came from like a lot of things, honestly. Just like different concepts of just like kind of whimsical fate, like adaptations, like the Druids. I feel like that's like the most just kind of D&D inspired, you know what I mean, where it's just like very, very fantasy whenever you think of just like that type of thing. I know I'm so descriptive. I mean,
you seem a little lost of words now, but when it comes to Naoki and like there's something to be said and you say it, it's very impactful, but also very few people are very creative overall with their character. Like when you cast elemental, like summon elemental or conjure elemental, you summon it as like a cloud that looks like you, that's giving hugs and shocking people and that sort of thing. Like that is creative and that is unique, that is descriptive. So like, and also the cherry, or not the cherry, but the wisteria flowers coming off your parasol as well, like that's really nice. And so like that's more so where I'm like trying to get a little bit more information, like the design of the character. What made you go with that?
I mean, whenever I think of Druids, I just like really, I haven't seen like a lot of them go into flowers. Like a lot of Druids just kind of stick with trees, basic plants. I've never seen a Druid really like focus in on florals, and I thought that would be a really neat thing, especially with a dreams druid, where I think dreams are like kind of like a mirror image on the other side of like a lake almost.
Mm.
Yeah.
They're like a subconscious that's like distorted, but it's still you.
And you also went with the tiefling species that is very, you designed it very much like an oni from like Japanese tradition. And with the kimono, he wears a kimono, the way that he drinks, the jug that he drinks his liquor from in his character arc, all that stuff. So overall, it's really cool. And I do like it. I think it's a beautifully designed character. That's the challenge I gave everybody this campaign, was to like design a character that was artistic and creative and was something that people can really hold on to. Actually, like if they go, someone's gonna be upset about it, you know.
Mm.
And it's kind of funny
Mhm.
that you say that, just because, like, you know, earlier Guy mentioned how he had put a lot of intention into Valerie and designing her and her lore, and, you know, for that situation to happen, and then to get this new character and of course embrace her, but have to like definitely learn and grow with her. I feel the opposite, where I'm learning and growing with Emmeline. I'm following her lead, seeing what needs to happen. But if something were to happen, my backup character, I have a very good idea for what it is. So I guess, does anyone else have a really good idea for theirs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I can't talk about it.
Right, me neither.
Definitely.
This makes me
But they're
nervous.
in the
I don't know what
chamber.
anyone's backup characters in fact would look like or sound like. Which is, and like, you know, some of you have played just one or two characters the entire campaign, and some of you have had to play multiple. I mean, we had Jeremiah, who had Rosad kind of on retainer when Diablo passed away. And do you think that Rosad's story is over with? I know that we kind of talked about how you want to return back to Diablo, but do you think Rosad has a more story to tell as a character?
I think that Rosad's story, whatever he is doing off screen from the party, will have lasting effects. So the story's probably going to unfold as it happens, especially if the players ever return to the wasteland. Because he's doing something a lot different than what we've done so far, I guess. Still think he has more to tell. I don't know if that necessarily means directly through me role-playing him or just environmentally, but I guess we'll see. A lot of it's TBD, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
He's off it.
obviously, I at this moment don't know what Rosada has done until we return back to the wasteland, and so I'm curious to see what happens there as well, and how the party reacts to it, and what exactly happened. And as far as Diablo goes, you know, for those of you who don't know, Jeremiah, 10 months before campaign 2 took place, would be at the gym, and he was just going over this special subclass for monk that he found. It's basically a homebrew subclass, and just was constantly like just reading to me features and trying to like persuade me so hard to allow him to use it in this campaign. And I do really like the overall design of this subclass. It's a luchador essentially class. And Jeremiah, what about that with monk? Because you've never played a monk with me at all in any of the one shots, campaigns, anything. What made you go with that for this character for Diablo?
Well, I mean, outside of prestige encounters, I've always really liked monk. I think I love the idea of, in a world full of magic, somebody who finds a solution through just using themselves and their fists and whatever physical I guess capabilities they have. And I guess with the subclass that I ended up using, even more so, because it's completely, all of his abilities are completely based on just pure force of personality being manifested physically, which I mean, you can say similar to like how a sorcerer might use their magic or something similar, but this isn't magic. It's literally just pure force of personality, and there's no other way that you could really describe it.
Yeah, you even like changed the name of your key points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back when we were first considering these characters, it was before 20 or 5.5e was a thing. So I was like, I don't think key feels right for this character because he isn't like focusing on a more mystical type of energy within himself. It's purely, I am confident I can do this thing, so I'm channeling that. So I renamed it to Mojo for him, which I think is fitting. But
it works really well.
But yeah, he's it's just the idea of somebody being so, I guess, brazen and confident in themselves that they can just do things is appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Josh, you currently playing as Percy have a really interesting dynamic at the moment with Diablo. You know, Diablo straight up said that, you know, someone who doesn't very much like the undead or vampire specifically, he will end your life if you step out of line. Can you tell me a little bit about like how Percy's feeling about his relationship with Diablo at this moment in time?
Well, I guess Percy he joined the group when Diablo was unfortunately not with us, so he didn't really know about this guy, and no one really mentioned him. And then he just kind of rocks up and is like, "Oh, I'm the leader of this group, you know, I'm him," and he does all this cool stuff. So Percy's a bit like, "Oh, this guy could probably end me if needs be." So like, I feel like Percy's trying to earn Diablo's trust more than break it. That's why he last session he mentioned about the like trying to earn the trust. He mentioned that Lady Darthbine wanted to try rekindle the old magic that was happening in the tower, and he mentioned that to Diablo in confidence of like, "Look, I've been told this in confidence by Lady Darthbine, but I'm sharing it with you as like a and also he was concerned of what Emily might do with that information. But yeah, no, I feel like Percy's more trying to get Diablo to trust him and show that now that he has changed into this vampire, he's not a different person, he just looks different, I guess.
Well, that is, yeah. I mean, I always like it when there's a little bit of conflict between players, and of course, characters can have. And let me rephrase that, a little disagreement between characters because you guys all love each other. But you know, character dynamic and disagreements are always good storytelling aspects. Not everybody here in this party is going to have the same moral compass. You know, it's interesting to see when those sort of disagreements arise and what happens.
I mean, you mentioned that. I'm not sure what the conversation with Diablo and Valerie would have been if Valerie was still alive with the reveal that she'd been lying to him for all the time that they've been traveling together, right? Like, that was a baked in potential conflict.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Oh, I'm at a loss for words. I'm the one at a loss for words now, but like we've always had, like, I think in the previous two campaigns, when one character didn't like something, the whole party was kind of like at times forced to go with it, and so now the party itself is kind of having to divide. Things might be going on behind the scenes with different characters and stuff too. Things, and the only time, like the last time we saw a character like really go behind the scenes to like go behind everybody's back was in fact Elith Visago, when she was trying to bring Orcus back from his imprisonment. So I don't know where this could go. You know, decisions will have to be made in the near future as you guys pursue this quest line with Kresna and the primordial fears and that sort of thing. And you know, we'll see what trust gets broken and what trust stays strong as we go on.
Wow.
Do any of you have questions for each other?
I was wondering if we could like rate everyone on a scale of most moral to least moral character-wise. What are we thinking? Right? Because I'm already putting Emmeline on the bottom, right? Like she likes doing good things
of
and nice
10?
things. Well, out of the group.
Oh, out of the group?
Yeah, ranking the group.
So you're looking at like a rank list from most moral to least moral for every character. Like we're gonna basically stack.
Yeah, I think Sinasha definitely has the opportunity to take most moral, but Diablo could get in there too, right?
Hmm.
What are we thinking?
Hmm.
That's a really tough one because. Go ahead.
I definitely think Naoki is like right down there with Emmeline. He likes doing good, but he likes to ensue chaos, and basically any moral pleasures of the world, he will most likely do that over what they're currently supposed to do.
Hmm. And I think
Period.
Diablo has like he has a righteous path, but it's one leading to vengeance. Right?
Yeah, I feel like Diablo isn't as clearly like a hero archetype as much as he probably thinks he is. I mean, I think ultimately from an outside looking in perspective, especially with the information they've gained, he is leaning a little bit more moral. But he's completely content with getting there through violence, and that was his path of choice.
Yeah, I would say anyone we would consider to be somewhat righteous in their own minds has violence in their heart. And in the case of Sinasha, like, sure, she likes to see herself as more than a hero, but she did also go along with the plan in dooming an entire nation potentially to being taken over by an army of demons. So not exactly like she's
Honestly, I think how the party as it currently stands prior to this upcoming session, I think the most moral character would be Renatus. He has one sole purpose in his existence as a character, and that is to follow the will of the goddesses to make sure that proper rites of passage for the dead take place. And honestly, and anybody can disagree with me, of course, but I think as far as like morality goes, it would be Renatus, then Sinasha, then Diablo, and I'd actually put Naoki above Percy, because Naoki's more like out of ignorance and more innocence than anything.
Naoki feels like a druid. He feels like how a druid's morality usually would be, like very neutral.
Yeah,
I'm where I'm at because I want to be where I'm at.
And Percy's not at all evil. He's willing to make great sacrifices to do good.
One could
True.
say.
Yeah, sure. Let's say that.
yeah. Outside,
Because he cares very much about people and his friends and stuff, so he will, take a magic artifact out of a tree that potentially dooms a civilization for them, and he will give up his god to help give them power, and he'll do these kind of things. But like ultimately, at the end of the day, he does want to help with his magic that he's been given by the many gods that he chooses to talk to.
I think really the only person who's potentially going somewhere truly morally dubious is Emmeline by her nature.
And the thing was, Elith was really a gluttonous character for me to play, because I could just be as evil as I wanted to be with no real there were definitely consequences, but I was allowed to really go off the deep end.
Yeah.
By the way,
with
Mother Iris made the whole party like tear up and cry when she died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Emmeline, it's like she's not evil. She doesn't have hate in her heart. She just loves to learn. She loves science, and she's a big brain individual, right? A 5-head. So that could potentially lead her to do questionable things.
For the power of science.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I like that ranking. I think that's a
I
good
will say
ranking.
that the party overall doesn't feel evil to me at the end of the day. It feels very ambitious, and it's kind of my fault at the same time, but I feel like they do things that they believe are for the better good. And in this very complicated world of gods and demons and magic and strength and politics, it's hard to make the decision that will be good for all. So you have to make the decision that is good for the most. And of course, emotions get in the way too. Like, you wanted to sit here and do the thing with Contrast and fulfill the contract because emotions got in the way. Like, anybody could have been sacrificed for that you cared about, and those really mattered a little bit more, and you didn't know what he was going to do with the power that was ultimately given to him. He was very good at covering that up. So do I think that the party themselves are kind of like seen in a negative light at the world at the moment? Yeah, I would say that, but at the same time,
you gave us a trolley problem, and we chose based on emotions instead of based on numbers.
Yeah, for me, at least as a player or as a viewer looking at Emmeline, she doesn't come off as evil, out of like being like, oh, I want to do bad things, more like detachment from what people would consider moral, because she has this other goal in mind.
I would
lack of ethics.
When you think of Emmeline, definitely think of her as the kid who sits in the basement and doesn't really talk to anyone in the neighborhood, and she'll show up to like events. She's there, but you don't really know anything about her. Does she shower? We don't really know. These are the questions.
I mean, Emmeline seems like the character to me that would, like, let's say there is some terrible sickness that needs a cure, but in order to find this cure, you have to do a truly horrible experiment on a small group of living creatures or living conscious, like, aware people. But in order to save the many, you have to sacrifice like 3 people, and I think she would make that decision. Does that make her evil? That's for the viewers to decide. I personally, as a viewer, don't believe so. But we do have ethics laws for a reason when it comes to medicine and research.
Yeah.
But these are conversations that we'll have to continue at another time, because we are at the 30-minute mark for our weekly Q&A. So if you're watching this is us from the past telling you in the future that 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in our community events channel on Discord, we'll be doing a live Q&A before every session on the Wednesdays that we have a session going on. So if you have a question that's just like burning in the back of your head that you want to ask anybody about their characters, or me about the world, you can join us for that as well. Of course, we're not going to reveal some things. Like, you're not going to come to me and be like, hey, Michael, what is the identity of this mysterious person that's been helping the party the entire time? Like, in due time. But I think there's a lot of things that need to be explained as time goes on. And that's not me saying that there's somebody helping the party behind the scenes. I saw your looks.
Yeah.
So,
next week is 100% just going to be us asking questions about Biddy.
Yeah, Betty was a really interesting NPC that ended up getting sacrificed to the void. But we'll continue on. But everybody, we'll see you here next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next Q&A, and we'll go from there. We're also going to be live here in 20 minutes, so we're gonna get ready for that session. And until next time, bye.